Can I see your sword? There you go. Hey.
Look! Nature's maracas!
Shake it, baby! Shake it!
I have no words. Are you sure you people still want me to do this series? Okay. Welcome, my friends, to Power Rangers Mystic Force. Fandom is a funny thing. It's easy to call the fans of any particular subject, be it sports, a movie, a TV show, or etc., the worst kind of people. In reality, everyone's passionate about certain subjects and will take up arms in their defense. I'm no different, and there are plenty of TV shows, characters, and etc. that I will defend. However, the real kicker is when you get something like Power Rangers, where themes, casts, and just generally everything about it changes from season to season. Now, I've always argued that the cast shouldn't change from season to season, that it should maintain continuity, maybe drop out certain characters for people who want to leave and whatnot, but I've long since accepted that after In Space, the cast is going to rotate out. I'm of course sad about it, but on the other hand, it allows the show a fresh start to try new ideas and have new characters. But when you have a franchise like Power Rangers that has lasted 2 decades straight at the time of this video's release, people are gonna start having more and more differing opinions about what seasons are good and what are bad. For example, I've talked with people who vehemently hate Wild Force, thought it was absolute dreck and some of the worst that Power Rangers has ever offered. I disagree with them, and I really enjoyed the season, and I've explained why. It's okay to have different opinions about these things. And because it seems I always need to say this, the history of Power Rangers is approached from a biased perspective. Mine. If I think a season is awful, it's my opinion, and I'll certainly try to justify that opinion, but people are under no obligation to agree with me. However, we have now entered an area where the fandom is nearly split down the center. This is the Kalish era, where the show was headed by executive producer and head writer Bruce Kalish. He started off with SPD, and while apparently most fans loved it when it began, there was a lot of backlash against the season in its second half, particularly against his decision to do more adaptation of the Sentai plots and less original material. I've stated before my problem with the poorly produced explosions. It's not the number of explosions used, but just how they're executed that makes them frustrating. However, I am also not privy to what goes on behind the scenes of a weekly television series. Most of my behind-the-scenes information comes from wikis, interviews with the cast and crew, rumors, and anything else I can scrounge up whenever possible. There's just not as much information out there on this stuff as much as there is for other shows. I admit I've gotten stuff wrong before, and when I eventually finish History of Power Rangers, I'll try to make a video listing corrections to things I assumed were true but were not. Subsequently, I also do try to state when what I've got is hearsay versus actual fact from the lips of the people who made it. Most opinions that I've read seem to think that SPD was pretty good overall, but had a lot of problems. The next 3 seasons, however, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, and Jungle Fury, are the ones that I see get the most debate. As I've stated, I'm going to approach these seasons with an open mind. I will give them a chance to impress me. These are also the seasons that I know the absolute least about. If the only reason people have for hating them is, it's too much like the Sentai, that is not a valid argument for me. I've never seen the Sentai. I have zero interest in the Sentai. I know that upsets some people, but think of it this way. I am a fan of Doctor Who, which at the time of this video's release is being headed by Stephen Moffat. Another show that Moffat is currently running is called Sherlock, and I have been told that it is one of the best damn programs ever made. And while I may someday watch it, I don't currently, and really don't have any interest in watching it. That is the same thing when it comes to Power Rangers versus Super Sentai with me. I'm not saying it isn't good, I'm just saying I'm approaching this solely as a Power Rangers fan, and I'm going to let Power Rangers speak for itself. When I bring up stuff related to the Sentai, it's only in an attempt to try to explain why in the hell something so bizarre happened in Power Rangers, and even then I'm basing it off of the aforementioned wikis, interviews, or fan speculation that I have no real way of verifying without watching the Sentai myself, which I'm not going to do. History of Power Rangers is not about the Sentai, nor is it a comparison piece with the Sentai. It's simply the history of Power Rangers. With that out of the way, let's talk about Mystic Force. The season begins with the 2-part Broken Spell. We're not off to a good start with the theme song. It's more of a hip-hop kind of thing, and I can't even believe I have to explain why that's a bad thing for Power Rangers. It's certainly not the worst theme Power Rangers has ever produced. Oh, we'll get to it, trust me. But when you think of a series like Power Rangers, and then think of magic and mysticism, does your mind immediately turn to hip-hop? There's no energy to it, nothing there to get the viewer pumped if something awesome is gonna happen. It has a decent start for getting a mystical feel to it, but then it's immediately ruined when the guy starts singing. Ron Wasserman actually did produce 2 demos for Mystic Force, a rock version and a rap version. I contacted him and asked him for some clarification on what happened between him and the show, since I see plenty of rumors. He says that he wrote the rock theme, they loved it, but then a few days later they told him that the new producers for the show wanted something in the rap genre. He wrote it, though he admits that he knew it wasn't very good, which I agree with, and so did Disney. Since they went with another song, he announced to the fan base that they weren't going with his track, and he posted the rock version. Sure, it's nowhere near as good as SPD's theme or anything, but I'd still take it over what we actually got any day. Disney then contacted Ron and said that he shouldn't have posted it, but I really have no idea why the hell that would piss them off, though. It's not like they ever released a soundtrack album for the show. Ron speculated that it had less to do with him posting it and more to do with the backlash they got to the theme's new direction. Gee, it's almost like when you do something monumentally stupid, like, say, try to make a rap or hip-hop song in a series about fantasy and mysticism, people aren't going to like it. Oh, and let's get something else out of the way here. Just because it's magically themed doesn't mean it's Power Rangers, Harry Potter Force, or anything like that. To be perfectly honest, I've only read the first Harry Potter book and seen one of the movies. Second to last one, in case you're wondering. There's equally debate amongst people if Magi-Ranger, the Sentai that Mystic Force is based on, was inspired by Harry Potter, and again, I don't really care, since any comparisons are superficial at best. Frankly, while watching Mystic Force, I got more of a Lord of the Rings vibe to parts of it. But even then, Lord of the Rings is not the originator of most of the mystical folklore on display in that style of fantasy, so I see no reason to draw on it unless I legitimately see one attempting to rip off the other. Or if I feel like being a snarky bastard. And as always, we open the season with exposition.
A short time ago, there was a dimension filled with wonderful magic. But then, darkness came into power, and the great battle began. An army of the undead, led by a powerful warrior, swarmed over the land, setting their sights on the human realm.
Fortunately, the Dark Forces were defeated by 5 wizards with attitude and driven back. The Red Wizard banished them into the underworld and sealed them behind giant gates.
The human world never knew of the great battle, or the sacrifices that were made to save them from destruction.
Humanity never knew how close they came to once again getting their asses handed to them.
Even till this day, they live in peace.
Oh, except for the demons, the mutants from the future, the evil space aliens, the orgs, and the former Power Ranger designing creatures based on dinosaur DNA because science. We first meet this guy on a motorcycle.
So, that must be Briarwood.
Yep, sure glad I said that out loud to nobody. We then cut to an MTV reality show already in progress, where this girl, Vita, is pretending to be a DJ and committing crimes against music in a rag stock.
Sounds great, sis.
No it doesn't. It sounds horrible. This is Maddie, no doubt gaining valuable camera techniques that will be essential for her work for the movie Cloverfield. We also meet Chip, who's having a battle with invisible demons a la Vincent van Gogh, Xander showing off his muscles, and Toby, their boss, who was snorkeling. He berates them for not cleaning the store they all work in, and we get to see Xander be a douche by just sitting on his ass.
And what are you doing?
I'm glad you asked. I'm supervising.
An earthquake hits, sending our motorcycle rider into a ditch and opening up the Necronomicon.
Oh no. The darkness has been unleashed.
We see that the gate holding the demons has opened and, oh hi Zeltrax. Actually, this is Korag the Night Wolf. More on him later. Later, the 4 Rangers see an old man babbling about how his brother was taken by some creature up the road.
The creature took him into the woods.
Can you imagine that, V? Him asking for someone to go into the woods?
Yeah, there's like raccoons and stuff in the woods. One wonders why they don't contact the police. Oh, right, Power Rangers. Duh, sorry. Nearby, the motorcycle guy named Nick volunteers to help him. Xander tells him not to go into the woods. Apparently there's local superstitions about it that no one comes out of them. Vita volunteers to go as well. Chip also volunteers, talking about how he's always wanted to go on a quest. I like Chip. He reminds me of Don Quixote in a good way, wanting to be brave and knightly. Xander and Maddie, however, refuse to follow. On a rooftop, a demon batwoman named Necroli watches and then reports to Mordecon, a cybernetic general that Korag says is just a servant of their true master, named the Master. The old man asks them if they're sure about this.
You ask a lot of questions for someone whose brother's in danger.
Everyone's in danger.
Xander and Maddie show up, reluctant but willing to enter because of their close ties to, well, everybody but Nick. The old man whispers to himself that there are 5 now, and they enter the woods. Old guy vanishes, and the 5 pass through a barrier where everything suddenly goes into day for night territory, though I'm sure that wasn't the intention. Maddie is the only one who notices it, but they're more concerned about the old man vanishing. Chip talks about some rumors about the woods, including about how a witch is supposedly there.
Guys, there's no such thing as witches. Oh, okay. So now you're playing with me. Ooh, someone's behind me. I'm so scared. Ooh.
There is someone behind you. Anybody want to run?
Already tried, but my feet won't move.
The foot soldiers surround them, but the witch casts a spell that picks up the 5 and carries them into the sky. The witch engages the foot soldiers, utilizing the power of slow-motion back explosions. They're trapped in front of a huge tree, and the witch appears, saying that they're in root core. They back away from the witch and into the mouth of a stone dragon. It takes them on an elevator up to their command center.
I am the sorceress, Udana.
She exposits about the battle at the beginning and how the earthquake let the dark forces through again. Nick isn't buying it because, well, he's kind of an idiot. For crying out loud, you were just carried through the air to a giant tree and see a woman who displayed special effects powers. Denying it at this point is just kind of silly. Vita, while lacking musical talent, does at least have the good sense to say they should listen to what Udana has to say before they leave. Udana shows them the Zenatome, the Book of the Unknown.
In it is everything we do not know.
AKA the Big Book of Plot Convenience. Wait, if it contains all that they don't know, doesn't that mean that the information should instantly be erased from it afterwards, since they then know it? Udana says that the book predicts that when the dark forces rise again, 5 warriors from the human realm will rise and become champions.
You are those warriors. You are the Power Rangers.
Nice!
She grants each of them a magic wand before a blonde woman comes running up and whispers something in her ear. Udana leaves, warning them not to go into the woods on their own. This is Claire, a sorceress in training, who will serve as our comic relief alpha for the season. The 5 leave and see a group of mystical creatures living in the woods.
What happened here?
Woodland Village was destroyed. Tomorrow it will be another village. The darkness destroys everything within their path until they find what they want.
What are they looking for?
Me.
She says the dark forces will then come after them and the villagers spot them, yelling their praises as their coming protectors. However, a giant troll appears and the villagers run off.
Stand back. You leave me no choice. Magical source, mystic force. Flurry of snow. White, mystic ranger.
Udana fights the troll as the foot soldiers, Hideax, attack again. But that's alright, there's a third option. Plan Xander.
I'll just reason with them. Hi. I'm Xander. We're not really from these parts, eh? So if it's okay with you, we'll just be heading off in another direction.
For the record, Plan Xander never, ever, ever, ever works. Ever. And the 5 get knocked on their asses thanks to an explosion behind them. The 5 do manage to push a few away, but they're clearly getting their asses kicked.
Just remember, to use magic, all you need to do is believe in magic.
Yeah, thanks, Udana, that's a big help! Actually, it does help Chip.
What did she say? To use magic, all I need to do is believe. Well, I do! I believe in magic!
You believe in magic in a young girl's heart. How the music can free her whenever it starts.
Udana uses her staff to freeze the monster, delivering a horrible Mr. Freeze-esque pun in the process. Nick is tossed around some more by slow-motion back explosions, but despite everything, him saying he believes in magic does crap all, requiring Udana to save him. Everyone but Nick says they want to join up.
He is a non-believer.
For crying out loud, dude, you saw this woman turn into an armored Power Ranger and the other 4 summon up a tornado, vines, water, and lightning. What the hell else do you need? As Claire leads him out, the other Rangers are attacked by Korag, ending Part 1. Part 2 begins with Korag growing tall and becoming a centaur. Udana morphs again, and we learn that in this season, the Zords aren't separate machines, but the Rangers themselves grow and take on the form of the Zord, called Mystic Titans. I admit I'm not fond of the idea, but it works for this season, with its emphasis on spells and mystical abilities as opposed to having robots at their command. I'd be a lot more upset if, say, in SPD they grew giant-sized instead of having standard Zords. Although they still have a cockpit set for when they become the Megazord, so I don't know. Korag and Udana both note that the other seems familiar, but that doesn't stop them from fighting, Udana getting defeated.
I will spare all of you, so that you witness firsthand the terror and destruction that unfolds on your land.
Given what we learn about Korag later, that's kind of confusing. Korag also takes Udana's snow staff with him back to the underworld, where Mordecon attempts to take it from him, but Korag refuses to give it up for the moment. Back at the command tree, Udana says that without the staff she can't morph, but that she can still train the others. She hands them the wands again, and while this time they're receptive, Xander notes that carrying around the big wands is kind of conspicuous. As such, Udana transforms them into cell phones.
They are your mystic morphers. They are activated by spell codes that you will come to learn along the journey.
While I've said before that I don't like cell phone morphers, these ones I actually don't mind as much. For one thing, unlike the growl morphers, they actually unfold into the wand forms as opposed to just holding them up like cell phones. Plus, the cell phones aren't their natural form. They're just wands that look like cell phones as a disguise. She tells them they have to find their own way out of the forest. Oh, so she's following in the Zordon school of mentoring, be an asshole to the Rangers. And tells them that the trees are their passage, which basically means that they can teleport through trees. She also says that the dark forces are everywhere and they shouldn't speak openly about what's happened. It'd be a fine excuse for the secret identities if not for the fact that Korag saw them all and already knows what they look like and stuff. Maddie runs into Nick, who gives us some backstory.
No parents?
You are nosy. Yes, I have parents. They're working overseas for a few years. I was living with my cousins for a while, then my uncle, now my sister.
Must be hard leaving friends all the time.
Usually don't stay around long enough to have friends.
You know, you could. I mean, you could stay somewhere longer. You know, like here, maybe.
Maddie clearly tries to flirt with him, but Nick doesn't quite take a hint and thinks she's talking about the Power Rangers stuff. We get some character development between Claire and Udana and how she wants to keep her around despite her basically being a walking disaster area. However, Claire asks the million-dollar question.
You are not someone I would ever give up on.
And I appreciate that. But just for reference, so when I become a powerful sorceress, I'll know. Why is it that we're giving up on Nick?
Udana takes it to heart and visits him.
Nick, there's a reason why you're here. At this place. At this time. Don't run away from it.
Nick refuses, thinking he's not cut out for the magic thing, but Udana says he was chosen to lead the Rangers because he was the first one to volunteer to help the old man. The other Rangers run off to face a disturbance in the woods, and Udana leaves Nick to contemplate what she said. The Rangers emerge in the forest and are now wearing uniforms and cloaks. The four engage the Hidiacs, and while they do better than they did in their original fights, they're still new to this and decide to morph. Many also have their problem with the costumes this time, particularly the fact that they have capes, but I've got to say, I actually really like them. It once again is a different sort of outfit that gives them their own unique feel. And as I've said, being a superhero fan and all, I really like capes. They're not so big as to get in the way of fighting, but long enough to give them kind of a regal look. The colors are balanced nicely with the General M look in the black lines that's also been a symbol of the team. Here it's integrated well with the outfits, not being in your face about it like some teams are with their symbols. What aren't quite as nice are the fight scenes, which have stopped even having explosion sounds and instead sound like photon torpedoes are firing. With the power of special effects, they defeat the Hidiacs, and Korag reappears to challenge them. Nick gets a vision of the others getting beaten up and changes his mind, riding in on his motorcycle and knocking Korag back in a damn impressive stunt. Utilizing magic, Nick blasts Korag away and he magically gets his morpher. He morphs and promptly deals with some more Hidiacs. With the evil forces defeated, they all pledge their allegiance to Spider-Man and Korag retreats. However, we make sure to get in a badass line walk. And we get the end of the episode with them using their awesome magical gifts to clean the store up. Overall, Broken Spell is a solid start to the season. It's paced well, the Rangers come off as pretty likable, and it serves as a good introduction to the concepts of the series. It does have its failings, primarily in how really stupid the I believe in magic thing is. I'm not against the idea of faith and belief, far from it, but if it's just believing in magic that allows you to have magical powers, then Claire should have better control over this crap. And again, Nick knew full well magic existed, yet he wasn't able to unlock his powers until the end. I've heard that in the Sentai it was courage, not belief, and that would have worked a lot better, but for what we got, I didn't mind it too much. I think my frustration truly comes from the kiddie way that magic is handled. Of course, Power Rangers is a kid show, but you can tell mature stories for children and not insult their intelligence. For example, there is a difference between believing in something and knowing something. For these Rangers, they have grown up in an environment of facts and science. They know that what their senses tell them is reality. Belief, on the other hand, is a concept meant for something that isn't provable. However, the magics on display here should mean that they accept magic as fact, not as a belief. That would have been more interesting, that it's not enough to know that magic exists, but rather you have to believe in the potential power of magic and in the faith that there's something greater at work than just magic as a provable fact. Again, the difference between knowing and believing, but that's never brought up. Simply that they must believe in magic. But hey, whatever. Point is, first 2 episodes are pretty good. Naturally, following 2 episodes about magic and mysticism about the Rangers, we get to see the Rangers flying around on jet jammers. Well, okay, they're more like flying motorcycles that were transformed from broomsticks and subsequently can transform into motorcycles. Udana's also teaching them spells as their training instead of martial arts. They wonder why they don't get tons of gadgets and weapons.
The Xenotome holds the spell codes that can unlock magical powers beyond your imagination.
So what are we waiting for? Let's bust it open, load the codes, and get our booty.
It doesn't work that way, Vida. As you perform heroic deeds and grow as Rangers, the Xenotome will reveal the spell codes when the time is right.
Okay.
I should point out that one of the reasons why we have so many more explosions and special effects was because apparently Disney didn't like having a massive amount of physical contact between Rangers and monsters. Because, of course, even though it was just fine to do that for over 10 years, suddenly it's not okay anymore. But that's fine. The magic spells idea would be perfectly fine to get around that, except they very rarely do that. We also meet Phineas, who's apparently half troll and half goblin. So he's a reject of both Troll 1 and Troll 2. That's harsh. He also is yet another comic relief character. Because that's what this series needed, a mythical version of Piggy. However, he does give exposition to Nick about the master of the underworld that's awakening. We cut to the underworld, where we see the forces bowing down to their new master, which appears in a pool in front of them all, though all we can see is his eye. We also meet a second foot soldier, Styxoids, though they're hardly all that different from the Hidiacs, so I don't see the point of having a second type. The Rangers' primary weapon is this half-axe, half-sword thing that I really like, called a Magistaff, helping to build on the sword and sorcery motif of the team. Speaking of sword and sorcery, it seems like the villains have access to Galadriel's mystical pool, and Korag sees a possible future where the Red Ranger destroys him. We also learn that Nick is hiding something from the other Rangers concerning his birth. And it's really not that big a deal. The Centaur mode that Korag possesses is actually thanks to a mythical horse under his control named Catastros. The horse was wild and none could tame him until the final battle between good and evil, where the horse was pulled into the underworld. Korag also manages to steal the mystical energy that allows the Rangers' Zords to combine, which could be used to let Mordecon be free of the underworld, but he decides to keep it for himself. Necroli, however, observed this and reports back to Mordecon, who instructs her to take out Korag for his betrayal. Her master plan is shooting a crossbow at him. Yeah, that'll have an effect on the giant robot version of him. Well, in actuality, it does get his attention. While the Rangers can't form their Megazord, they can form the Dragon Rider mode, and Nick leaps off to intercept Korag before he can retreat himself. It interrupts Korag's spell to return him to the underworld, sending him and Catastros to another dimension. And props to the production team on this one. I don't know if it's just a place in New Zealand that has plants like this, but the forest area in this other dimension, unlike ones we've seen previously on the show, actually has this purple and pink coloring to it. It's not a filter because Nick himself still looks like himself, but the area around him is a different color. It actually feels like another dimension and not just, say, Lord Zed's other world, aka a cave. It seems that Catastros was injured by the tiny arrow, magic or something, I don't know, and Nick decides to help heal it using his morpher. Korag goes to confront Mordecon, but the roar of their master tells them to knock it the hell off and get back to fighting the Rangers. Korag used the combining energy for one of his monsters, meaning that plot point became kind of wasted. Anyway, Nick has tamed Catastros and rides it out of the other dimension to destroy the monster in the new Centauros Phoenix Megazord, freeing the combining power back to the Rangers. However, Catastros throws Nick off and goes back to Korag.
I don't know how you were able to combine with my mighty Catastros, but I promise you I will find out. Something about you is troubling.
The Rangers go on a quest for a mystical scroll called the Fireheart to obtain its power and are aided by Phineas. And I do have to say, the guy kinda grows on you as a character. I thought he would just be odious comic relief, but he's not too annoying and is actually skillful and helpful a lot of the time. In the end, the scroll gets torn in half, one side going with Necroli and the other with the Rangers. In an earlier episode, Korag is able to create some kind of telepathic bond with Nick, allowing them to contact one another, although the reason why isn't explained at first. Korag also starts pointing out that he's a more honorable knight and refuses to destroy opponents that are weaker or at a major disadvantage from him, though he doesn't really have any qualms with letting other people do it. There is a supporting character that I was ignoring because it seemed like she was just another comedic relief character, and really, did we need 3? But it turns out I was wrong. Her name is Lily, and for the first few episodes, she pursues Nick and tries to get into his pants, even to the point of trying to get him fired from the music store in the hopes that he'll have more free time. However, a revelation comes at the end of the two-parter Stranger Within. The episode itself is a highlight of the season, with a very old-school Power Rangers plot. Vita, attending a rave with Lily in what appears to be a small community center ballroom, has an acid trip and is hypnotized into becoming a vampire thanks to a Venus flytrap monster disguised as a DJ called DJ Fly. Yes, seriously. Necroli is behind the plan, trying to turn the Rangers into undead servants. Chip catches on quickly that she's become a vampire, and we learn some more about Chip and Vita's past together as friends. They defeat the monster at the end of part 1, but then learn that Necroli is behind her vampirism, mainly because Necroli is the queen of the vampires, I guess. The Rangers defeat her in part 2, breaking the vampire spell, but in the final moments of the episode, we learn that Lily is in fact Necroli's daughter. While I just gave an overall summary of the plot, I actually really recommend this episode. The acting is pretty good, the plot has those cheesy, ridiculous things that I love about the start of a Power Rangers plot, but is contrasted with genuine human moments, good drama, and good twists. That's the thing to remember. Yes, the series can have outrageous, bizarre occasions, but it still needs to be coupled with exciting action and good dialogue, which this two-parter has in abundance. Chip realizes that they can figure out the Fireheart scroll by putting their half up to a mirror, since it's split clean down the middle, and they discover a mountain on it that should hold the location of the Fireheart. Xander and Vita go to the mountain and retrieve it, a chest with an egg inside.
No ordinary egg, Chip. This is the last dragon egg.